So street harassment is when you're walking down the street and someone, typically a male, decides that he's going to enforce himself either verbally or physically or both on you and your space and your time.
So it could start with like verbal harassment, leering, following, but can escalate into things as serious as groping, touching, grabbing, brushing, and public masturbation. So it's a whole spectrum of behaviors, but the most important thing about it is that it is unwanted.
Street harassment can be something as simple as psst, or you can go with my personal favorite, tanta carne y yo sin hueso.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, you took it there.
Yes,
wow.
I did take it there.
Street harassment is sexual harassment that happens in public space. So we're talking about groping, stalking, public masturbation, verbal comments that happen on the street, even gestures that I won't demonstrate because they're too gross.
Who here has had people tell you very explicitly what sexual thing they want to do to you, for how long and when, and at their discretion? Do any of you feel like that has ever been a compliment? No.
Why can't we take compliments?
Street harassment's never a compliment. If it was a compliment, we'd be like, these are called street compliments. We call it street harassment because it's actually harassment.
Because if you are truly giving a genuine compliment, you're probably not going to expect anything in return.
Very well said. That is so true.
Maybe then you'll know what it's like to be the object of unwanted attention. Assumptions about what I want. Invasion of my space, my peace of mind, my safety.
As a victim services organization, we understand that street harassment is part of the spectrum of gender-based violence.
I mean, if I'm wearing a short skirt, I'm kind of asking for it, aren't I?
No one is ever asking to be harassed. No one is ever asking for violence to happen to them. And street harassment is on the spectrum of violence. It is aggression and power, and no victim, no survivor, no person who experiences it ever deserves it.
If I'm wearing a skirt and showing off my legs or my cleavage, I'm kind of asking for it, aren't I?
No, no, no. Totally no. The whole point is that we should be able to walk around our cities, our streets, our towns, wherever, you know, it could be in like rural somewhere America. We should be able to walk around in whatever we want. Like, it's not for anyone to dictate.
People are supposed to say things whether it's disrespectful or nice, and this is just a part of the norm, especially in communities of color.
Why are black and brown men doing all the harassing?
Whoa.
Not true at all. That's another stereotype because street harassment comes in all forms, shapes, and colors. I know that from personal experience.
All right, so that is the biggest myth about street harassment out there, that it's mostly black and brown men doing the harassing.
It's not men of color who harass white women. That is not the case. That is the narrative that mainstream media loves to elevate. They love to tell that story.
You know, there is this myth out there, is this myth that like men of color are primarily the sexual predators of the universe. It didn't start with street harassment, started way before that, but that myth plays out in street harassment too. And what we see is it's obviously not true. Street harassment happens across socioeconomic lines. It happens in all different neighborhoods. And the number one indicator for it happening is actually population density. You're a lot more likely to get street harassed here than you are in Harlem or Bed-Stuy, for example, just because of all the people around us. More people, more street harassment.
What do you think is important to do in terms of ending street harassment?
Us guys, we do have to speak up a lot more and call people out. Like, we can't be afraid to call people out. And it, you know, a lot of the guys, you know, we stay silent, but you know, for us, it should be masculine to call people out.
What about the negative connotations associated to like guy bystanders, like male allies?
What are some of those negative connotations?
Thinking that a guy isn't masculine enough, that he's feminine now, that, oh, now he's not straight, or, yeah.
For me, I know that being less masculine is not a bad thing. Being feminine in many ways is a real display of strength, and like it takes a lot to fucking walk down the street as a femme lady. The idea that a person's masculinity or femininity would in any way be used against me doesn't even make sense to me.
You're being a punk if you don't speak up, pretty much, man.
Call him out! Call him out!
I'll call him out.
Let him have it.
Gentlemen, if you don't call people out, you're being a punk.
So what can we do as a society, like as people, what can we do to end street harassment?
There are the 4 Ds of bystander intervention. One of the Ds is delay. Like after it happens, go up to the person and check in with them. Or even while it's happening, you can distract the whole incident and sort of de-escalate it. You can directly, of course, intervene and address the harasser directly, or you can delegate to a third party. If you're not feeling safe or comfortable enough to say or do something, you could always like nudge the person next to you, be like, hey, like, do you see what's going on here? Can we do something about it?
So, end street harassment, you gotta tell your story. We're in the beginning of this movement in that place where everybody's telling us that we're crazy, that street harassment is a compliment, or that it doesn't really matter, or it's fine, just let people grab your butt on the train. Everything will work itself out. We know that that's not true, but we have to tell other people that it's not true, and we have to tell other people who experience this stuff and are just bombarded by these terrible messages that it's real, that it hurts, and that it's gotta stop.
The topic of street harassment comes up is that you don't see it as a problem. I'm telling you right now, it's a big problem. No bueno.